I want to get into the ICC issue because no one knows the ICC more than a Secretary of State, and nobody has experienced the ICC more than a lawyer that's actually appeared before the ICC, which I have. So I was there, Mr. Secretary, in December of 2019.
Right before the first impeachment.
Right before the first impeachment. Yeah, it was weeks before the first impeachment trial. I went over because the ICC had called for a general hearing on whether they could bring an action against the United States out of Afghanistan. And the United States obviously was not going to appear because the United States doesn't recognize a jurisdiction like Israel and like Russia, like China, like a number of countries. I went because our European Center for Law and Justice in Strasbourg has standing with all these international bodies, and we were able to get our legal position in. And it became a media thing because, I was the president's lawyer and I was showing up at this, and I had on the whole regalia. I mean, you wear the robe with the little kerchief and handkerchief and whatever. It was fine. And they were very polite. The decision was awful. They were polite. I'll say that. But that court has now got Israel and the United States in its crosshairs. And you've been very critical of the court, which I am too, because there is nothing about it that is either international or court.
Yes, no, that's absolutely right. Look, a lot of your listeners may just not be familiar with this. It's worth knowing that this is something that's this little body that sits in The Hague and has tried for years and years and years to go after American soldiers who were fighting in Afghanistan, right. Intelligence officers who were just doing their job on behalf of America, Israelis who were simply doing the things that Israel does to defend itself. We've never acknowledged that they have any authority over our people, and they still won't leave our people alone. And so our administration took this seriously. We began for the first time to sanction officials. This was, I must say, this was treated as just gauche by the rest of the world, by the Europeans, thinking, how do you sanction someone from this international criminal court? But to your point, it's not court.
No,
it's a bunch of countries that came together to try and solve a legitimate concern. But no country that doesn't submit to its jurisdiction should have its people at risk. A soldier who can't travel the world with his family, and so we started sanctioning people. The woman who's running the element of the ICC, Fatou Bensouda, was coming after us in a way, and so we just said no, enough, and we sanctioned her. We acknowledged that she was corrupt, that the whole institution had become politicized and corrupt. We weren't going to let them take on Americans.
We had I had a dual experience there. I represented our interests of the European Center for Law and Justice the first go-round in 2014 with the then prosecutor, different prosecutor, and he actually did not bring actions against the Israelis. Yeah. The second one, it was a lost cause. I mean, the writing was on the wall before it started. The irony of all this is the court system there would not pass municipal court rules in the United States. And as the Secretary said, they go after not the state. They go after the individuals, right. Including, by the way, one of our head lawyers in Israel, who also is a colonel in the Israeli Defense Force. Yeah. Intelligence. I mean, this is the way they operate.
Doesn't surprise me. This was designed to handle nations that didn't take care of bad acts that their people had done across the world. But we know Israel has a complementary system. The United States a complementary system. If one of our soldiers does something wrong, we have the UCMJ, we have our court systems. We're going to address bad acts by people who act inconsistent with the international law. It wasn't what it was designed to do. And you now have young American CIA officers and soldiers and Israeli officers across the world who are being threatened by them, and it's unacceptable.